Welcome everyone to week 6, and I'm going to go through quite a bit of content in the announcement this week. So if you have any questions over this material, let me know. Before we move into week 6 content, I want to just go back through week 5 and make sure that we understand what we covered in the past week. And it was all about overcoming those obstacles or barriers to change. And so it's all about anticipating what could go wrong with your change in terms of the process itself. And you could be looking at people issues, you could be looking at process issues, organizational issues, even cultural issues. And those are the things and where you usually see quite a few barriers to your change project. Once you've identified a potential obstacle or barrier, then you have to put together a plan to mitigate that risk, because you don't want that to derail your change project as you're going through it. And I always recommend that anyone who is leading any change takes a look at doing this at the front end of the change process. If I were to rewrite the Kotter book, I would actually have put this more up front in the process, because you want to do this scenario planning early on and not when you're in the midst of that change. So you look at the possible problems, you put together plans to mitigate those problems, and then you continue to anticipate problems as you go through the process. The other thing we took a look at through your case studies are other change models, because even though the Kotter book provides one methodology for change, implementing change, there are multiple models out there available, and you can use any one of those to be the backbone of your change project. Moving through the course, we've gone through urgency, the team, vision, communication, empowering action or removing obstacles. And then this week, we're going to focus on those short-term wins. And these are critical in a change project, and I'll go through those in a minute. But it is a key step in your change project that you want to make sure is included in your plan. So what is a short-term win? I always like to say this is like providing candy to the team. Because you're taking a look at where can you obtain accomplishments, small accomplishments within your change project during the process. And those little accomplishments can do a lot of things for you. It can take care of that emotional thing we've talked about in terms of people being emotional about change. It can show the benefits of change, and that also works to ease emotion. It gives people a sense of accomplishment as well. It's getting that small reward. And so it provides that ability to have accomplishment, and it gives you the ability to have some celebration along the way. Remember, you're trying to maintain momentum of the change. You don't want it to be dulled by the process itself. You don't want leadership to get in the way. So you've got to provide some short-term gains here in the process to show that you're headed in the right direction, and it gives people a comfort that we know that the change is a good thing to do and that there'll be benefit in the long run. So these are the key aspects to look at your change project as you're going forward, to say, where can I pinpoint some small short-term wins along the way? So your assignments for this week focus on short-term wins, and you'll add to your change journal here, and I have a discussion topic just on that. But I want to also mention that discussion this week is only going to be Monday through Friday, and I've explained that in the discussion thread, that I want to make sure you have enough time for your case study analysis, but also to finish your ACE assignments. Those all need to be complete this week. And then I will be going through and providing feedback in the upcoming week on all those ACE assignments, so you can submit those to Handshake. Those are a requirement of the course, and you have just a handful here that are due. So please make sure that those are completed by the end of week 6. The other thing I put into this module, I reiterated the change plan instructions, and I'm going to go through that as well, because what I'd like to do is take the change journal that you've been building on throughout the term, and we're going to start making that a reality for your change plan. And hopefully you've kept that documentation available, or you can also go back through our discussion boards and extract that information that you've put in to build your change journal. So next week, giving you a little bit of a preview of week 7, what we're going to do is you're going to ready your change journal for a peer review. And so you're going to take this information, and I gave you a template early on to use for this, and you can elaborate on this template. This is, again, just a standard way to capture some of your ideas. But what I'd like you to do is complete your change journal for next week. And then we're going to be doing some peer reviews where each of you probably will review 1 or 2 other classmates' change journal and provide feedback. And that will be your engagement for the week beyond a couple of discussion questions. So it will be very much focused on preparation, because my goal is that when you exit week 7, you have your change journal mature enough that you can basically write your change plan from that. And then the change plan instructions are in the module this week as well. And just going through those for week 8, APA guidelines, use the reading materials that we have been using as evidence for your ideas. You will have an introduction with a thesis statement. You will have talk about the sense of urgency. And again, you should be able to extract that from your journal and build around that. Build the guiding team, and that focuses again from your change journal. Get the vision right. What is your vision that you talked about early in the term, and what does it mean to be successful? Communication for buy-in. So from your journal, take your change presentations. I would like you to attach your change presentations to your final paper, and feel free to enhance those based on some of the comments that people provided. So the version that you submitted early on doesn't necessarily have to be the version that you use for your final paper. Empower action, which is all about removing those barriers that we talked about. Creating short-term wins, which we'll cover this week, and those will be in your journal as we go forward. And then how do you keep that momentum? How do you make change stick? How will you make it a reality? How will you reinforce your implementation and completion of your change project? And then the last paragraph, which you will write in week 8, is that conclusion reflection. What did you learn? Going through this process? Can you make this change a reality? Are you going to go forward with your change? And what are your concerns or reflections about the whole process? So it'll be an interesting paper when you're all done, and hopefully you'll have something to go forward with. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, or you would like me to read anything ahead of the due dates, please let me know. And let's move on to week 6.